Liberation Day simply means US imposing tariffs. And what are tariffs? Tariffs are specifically taxes on imports. Okay, so US is imposing tariffs, aka taxes on imports. Imports from where? The rest of the world. Okay, the rest of the world ranging from 10% all the way to what? I think even up to 54%. Highest was on China. You know who got 10%? Us, Singapore. We're not celebrating. 10% is still 1% too much. Or if you like 0.1% too much, because Singapore is extremely export driven. So if you hurt our export sales, you are going to hurt our economic growth. Okay? So 54%, unfortunately, is the case for China, another big trading partner of Singapore. Okay, so some news articles will say 34% on China. Why? Because US already imposed 20% on China previously. You add on 34, it becomes 54. Okay, so these numbers vary. In Vietnam, it was 46%. Okay, which is also terrible. Taiwan, 32%. Malaysia is also how much? I think about 30-odd%. Okay, so horrible. Okay, EU, supposedly a close partner, 20%. South Korea, 35%. So when you have tariffs on the rest of the world, let's look at how to understand the way tariffs work and exactly what US is trying to do. Who are they trying to help? Who are they trying to hurt within US? I know they don't care about the rest of the world, but let's look at within US. Okay, so let's imagine US produces cars. Is anyone able to name a brand of a car that comes from US? Yeah, a Ford, right? We have the Ford Motor Factory, very good. We have Ford, we have Chevrolets, and I suppose you could say Teslas as well. Some say, hey, that's actually South African. No, okay, it's still based in US. Okay, so you have the price. Within US, if US does not trade, you have supply, you have demand. Okay, so this is what we call autarky. AUTARKY. No trade. Okay, so the country is not open to trade. And this is your equilibrium quantity, equilibrium price without trade. Simple. All of us understand this. Okay. Now, if the country were to open up to trade, okay, if they open up to trade, what can happen? Okay, yeah, if they open up to trade, let's say ceteris paribus, okay, set par. Why do you want to buy imports? Okay, why do we want to buy imports? Because when you look at imports, they should be cheaper. That's why you want to open up your doors to buy imports. Okay, if imports are more expensive, you wouldn't want to buy, you wouldn't really fancy buying them. So now the underlying premise is you want to buy imports because they are cheaper. Okay, and let's say this is the price of imports. Are we okay? So once again, you want to open up your doors to imports because they are cheaper. You want to buy cars from Japan, from China because they are cheaper. Make sense? Let's not talk about quality differences. Okay, let's assume we're just interested in moving from point A to point B. This is interesting. World supply. Can someone tell me something about this supply curve? The slope first. What do you see about the slope? What do you notice? The slope is, right, it's a horizontal line. It means it's perfectly price inelastic or price elastic. Perfectly price elastic. This is a perfectly price elastic supply curve. Okay, so what are we trying to emphasize from a perfectly price elastic supply curve? We are trying to show that no matter how much you buy, let's imagine in US, 1/3 of the people wake up the next morning and decide to buy a car. Your demand is going to shift to the right. You don't have to draw this in. right? Despite demand shifting to the right, is there a change in the price of your imports? No. So in other words, we are trying to show that this country is small compared to the rest of the world. This country is a price taker. This may not be the truest reflection in the case of US, but I think the idea is the world is a lot bigger than the country. Are we okay? All right, so this is your world supply curve. And you buy imports. Based on the price of imports, domestic producers will find that they can only sell up to QS, no longer Q0. So they won't be happy because they are contending with competition from imports. Bad news for them. Now, domestic consumers, on the other hand, will be very pleased. Domestic consumers, because of the lower price, they are more willing and able to buy. Okay, buy up to QD. Do you follow? So this is a case where openness to trade is clearly good for consumers, not good for domestic producers who are competing with the imports. Very good. So I was saying the discussion is on Liberation Day, which is the day Donald Trump imposed tariffs on the rest of the world. Okay, I think the Russian Federation actually didn't get any tariffs. Don't have. Huh? Friend, huh? Buddy. Okay, so no tariffs on them, but tariffs on the rest of the world. Okay, what a tariff does, a tariff is the same as a tax. So sometimes you hear people say a tariff on liquor is a tax on alcohol. Okay, the tariff raises the price of imports. I'll put T to represent tariffs. So this is the world supply with a tariff. This is the size of the tariff. And of course, as I mentioned, the size varies depending on the country. Ours is 10%, okay? It can go up to 54%. So the world price goes up. Now, up to this point, are we okay? Yes.
Why the domestic producers sell to US?
Yes. Okay, so if you assume ceteris paribus, the quality is the same. In the absence of trade, the equilibrium is where supply cuts demand, P naught, Q naught. But if you open up the imports, and we know foreign producers can produce the good more cheaply, like in China, we have abundant labor, abundant land. So the price of imports is at P imports. And if consumers can turn to imports, they will not buy any domestic output that costs more than this. So at this price, you look at a domestic supply curve, domestic producers are willing and able to sell up to POS. Yeah, and they're not very happy, which is why the tariff actually gives them more breathing space. They have more breathing room now because domestic producers sell more. They sell more, which is QST. Okay, so this makes them happy naturally. Okay, so I should say this is the rights. Okay, but what about domestic consumers? Do we buy more or do we buy less? Domestic consumers buy less because at a higher price, they're only willing and able to buy this much. QDT. So this represents domestic consumption falling. Are we okay? Yes. But you see, as an economist or economist in training, we don't like to just say, consumers are sad, producers are happy. We like to be able to pinpoint this on our diagram. So you may recall we talked about consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is a triangle, and I'm going to say consumer surplus falls from here to here. Consumer surplus drops from A, B, P imports to how much? Can you tell? I give you a clue, it starts with A also. A is a triangle. It's always the area below the demand curve above the price. So it falls from ABP imports to A, C, P imports T. You see? Yeah, the consumer surplus is always the area below the demand curve above your equilibrium price. So what has changed now is that the price has gone up from P imports to P imports bracket T. Consumers suffer. Now we can ascertain with a litmus test that indeed the sad face is a very sad one. What about producers? Are we able to also show the impact? I believe we can. Instead of consumer surplus, we now look at producer surplus. Okay, a little bit of a revision. So now producer surplus rises from DEP imports to how much?
DFT.
Wow, very fast. DFT imports T. And I won't be surprised if you get this as your next assignment. Oh, show the impact on consumers and producers. So there you have it. Winners and losers. A very simplistic view, which I'm going to augment with more perspectives. Okay? Yeah. Any questions? On Zoom, are we okay? All right. Good. If there are no questions, oh, thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. If there are no questions, I want to ask you what this represents. This one. QD minus QS. Okay? Can you see QD minus QS was the original level of imports? Before, when I say original, it means before Liberation Day, before the tariffs. Are you okay? So what about the other one? QDT minus QST. What does this represent? This is import level after tariffs. Are we all okay with this? Take your time to look through it and see if you can understand it. Because before the tariff, Americans want to consume so much. Domestic producers can only give them so much. So the difference, the shortfall is covered by foreign goods, imports. Right? Now the level of imports has shrunk. So I say I'll add in some perspectives. This area, do you know what it represents? If you look at this area, the height, what is the height here? The height is, I put a T there. It's your tariff per unit good, okay? Per good, per import. What is the base? The base is the level of imports. So the level of import means how much you import now, which means this one. This is the base. Okay? So this entire area is the government's tariff revenue. So Donald Trump was saying we expect to get trillions and trillions of tax revenue from here. This is what he was referring to, the rectangle. All right, so it's not just producers, it's not just consumers, the government, the third stakeholder gets some money as well. Okay. Is it hence very rosy? Because I see two smiley faces and one sad one. Okay, the next part, we don't have to look at the diagram. Okay. Producers. Are producers only interested in revenue? Are they only interested in selling more? Not quite. Producers are ultimately driven by profits. Profit is given by revenue minus cost. With a tariff, if you are a car producer in US, because the tariff is on everything you import, the steel that you buy from China is going to cost more. So the rubber that you get from Southeast Asian countries will cost more. So producers will have to contend with rising costs, which could erode their profits. So this is a sad phase. Something else was announced last night or this morning. China, okay, is going to retaliate. China is going to impose 34% tax on US imports. So you push somebody, they push back. So other countries will impose their own retaliatory tariffs, which will hurt US exporters. Okay, so just a while ago, our Prime Minister also mentioned a global trade war does look very likely. A war cannot be one-sided. So it's when one attacks the other one, the other one retaliates. Can Singapore retaliate? We can't. Yeah, we can't. It's like someone punch you, then you send a mosquito to bite the person. Provided it's not, dengue. Otherwise, it's not going to hurt a lot. So in the state of global affairs, we are very much a prize taker, an event taker, okay? Punch and kick taker. We just have to take it. Okay.